statistics and you can show him maps of the bike and what's happening here and what's happening there? Or is it more a building him up in an ego sense?
Yeah, it's a combination of both, to be fair, Tony. I mean, we'll sit down and look at data, but also, you know, just keeping the rider calm in the situation, like after race 1 where he wasn't very calm. So, yeah, it's all about being, you know, mentally strong at the end of the day, and it just showed in that race too that he was, you know, he was very, very, very good.
Well, Shane was full of praise for the work that you and the rest of the team had done to the bike in between the races. Just tell us exactly what you did. I mean, obviously we don't want spring rates and things like that, but what parts of the bike did you change?
Yeah, basically we just concentrated on the front end of the bike where Shaky was complaining the most, you know, deep into the corner. He wasn't getting a good feel from the bike, and that was ultimately having an effect on the front tyre. So we rectified that for race 2, and obviously the result speaks for itself.
Is this something normally that would happen during testing? I mean, have you come across a problem like this before in the season?
Yeah, not particularly, no. I mean, we had a test day here the other week, and we've had, you know, Friday, Saturday to get the bike dialed in as best we can. But when you're running, you know, very, very close to, you know, other competitors, you're a bit reluctant to, you know, sometimes think outside the box for what the bike really needs.
We've seen recently, if you think of four-wheel championships in particular, that tyre makers like Pirelli have had problems. Are there any problems that are starting to surface in BSB or that you've had to deal with this year, tyre-wise? Or is the Kawasaki fairly good on them?
No, I think Pirelli introduced a new rear tyre this year, which came from the World Superbikes last year, and full credit to them. It's been, you know, enabled other teams to get who couldn't run the SC1 last year a lot closer, and you know, Pirelli have done a fantastic job, and there's no tyre degradation like you see in F1. So touch wood, everything's good.
Yeah, I think if we got it right, Shaky's now on 48 wins, which will mean Brands Hatch, he could theoretically take his 50th win.
Yeah.
What would that mean if he can for the team, and what do you think that would mean for Shaky? Because he'll be fairly modest about it.
He will, yes. Obviously, you know him yourself. He strives for goals, and this year he's set a few records. But ultimately, we'll go out and we'll look from the data from here, see where we can improve the bike, and just take one race at a time and try and build for the showdown. Race
fans out there will be very familiar with the name Paul Bird. He's obviously MotoGP as well as BSB, and he's been World Superbikes as well. Yes. How involved is Paul on a day-to-day basis with the team?
Paul's in the workshop every single day.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Well,
it depends. No, I mean, Paul's great to work for, and you know, he strives, you know, for the best from everybody, and it goes from his staff all the way to his MotoGP team. So, you know, Birdie is competitive as ever. So.
Yeah, absolutely. We all know Birdie, and we know how competitive he is. Johnny, we'll let you go. Thank you very much for talking to us. Do appreciate it. Johnny Moa, Chief Race Technician for Shane Byrne and that side of the Rapid Solicitors Kawasaki team. Now, throughout today, you will have seen that we've got plenty of red flags, or potential for red flags coming out here on track, as Shane Byrne tries to molest me while I'm doing a live link. Thanks, Shaky. Plenty of potential for red flags going out there, and it's not easy to control this sort of situation if a bike goes down or a rider goes down, and the officials have to get to it. So we took a look behind the scenes to explain exactly what happens when you see those red flags go out.
Red flags. Now then, if you race bikes for any length of time, you are going to fall down occasionally. I can remember all that. When you do fall down, you're laying out on track, you're going to need attending to. To do that, at BSB, they can use the safety car. It goes out, the riders who are still on the bikes form up behind it at a safe speed, thereby allowing the marshals and the medical staff to get to the downed rider. But occasionally, the session or the race has to be stopped completely. Now, they do that with the use of a red flag. Under red flags, we are all under the control of race director Stuart Higgs. Stuart, as race director, it falls to you to make some fairly big decisions up here. What happens? Just talk us through what happens when there's an incident out on track.
I get a shout from a marshal, see the incident on the TV feed, and then I've got really, can it be cleared locally? Does it need a safety car? Does it need a red flag? Or is there a medical response required as well? If there's a medical response, then that's where I've got my left-hand woman who sits next to me is Dr. Heike Roma. She's the Chief Medical Officer, and she oversees our team of medics.
Heike, just explain, there's a big incident out on track, there's a red flag. What happens in the medical centre?
Right. In the medical centre, we're normally getting on seeing minor injuries, things like that. If we get a medical red flag, Kat, who listens to the radio, gives us the heads up.
Guys, medical red flag, kilo 15 leg.
And the team in the medical centre will actually come in here and start preparing. The ambulance will turn up at the double doors, straight into the medical centre, onto one of these stretchers, and then the team start assessing.
You've come in, you're a rider, the race is over for you for the time being, but it's quite possible you've left a big mess out on track. That job is for the marshals to sort out. Let's go and have a word with him. This is Pete Webb, Pit Lane Pete, as he's known in the trade, a bit of a legend around these parts. Now, Pete, there's been an incident on track. From a marshal's point of view, what happens next?
Initially, I go straight on the radio to race control. I have 2 folders. Rider is still down. Would he stand by, which means he puts medics on standby. I can't deal with it myself, so I ask for kilo red medical.
That means red flags go out everywhere?
Red flags go out everywhere. Hopefully you can get the bikes off the circuit as quick as you can, which then means he can dispatch the medical boys to deal with the casualties. And once all vehicles are left, I can look round, assess the situation, evidence clear, base, we are now kilo green. He will then hand over to the circuit, to pit lane staff, Jane and Karen, and they will issue whatever instructions he requires to the riders. We are ready to go.
The only people we haven't spoken to in all this are the people who are on track, the riders and the teams. Sean Muir is team owner and manager of the Milwaukee Yamaha setup, one of the larger teams in the paddock. Sean, there's a red flag out on track. It doesn't involve your riders, but the race is stopped. They come back in. What happens in the garage?
Well, first of all, I've got to clear the garage for all the guests and VIPs that we've got in here watching the race from the monitors. My job is keep direct control with the contact with the race direction upstairs through this radio, and then from then on I'm in contact with both my crew chiefs, one for James and one for Josh, through our own personal headsets. And at that point, we've then got to work out how many laps have been running that race, first of all, and then work out the fuel usage. At that point, we can then refuel the bikes when they come in. And we'd also put a new front and a new rear tyre in the bike, ready for the next session.
And what happens if it is one of your riders? It slid off, the thing's been stopped, but they don't hurt?
Well, the main thing is we've got to get them back to the paddock instead of coming. If they can ride the bike back, all the better. We know we can get it back out for the next session.
Yep.
But as you know, with the one bike rule, we've got all the pre-assembled parts in here to make a quick repair as fast as we possibly can. So all the brake levers, the rear sets, the subframes are all pre-assembled in parts sat in the middle of the workshop here. And we effectively have got to put that bike back together, get him on the track for a quick restart.
So there you go. When there's a red flag situation, everybody within the paddock has a lot of work to do. A little bit like the Swan. Serene and graceful on top. Underneath, everybody's going mad.
Ah, how true, how true. When we see the red flags, it might look calm and collected. Well, it might not even look calm and collected, but underneath there is all sorts going on, as you've just seen. But no red flags so far here today at Snesterton, we're very pleased to say, and hopefully no red flags either in the race that's coming up. This is the Eastern Airways sidecar race. The guys are out on their warm-up laps. Let's go to our commentators. James Whittam sits alongside the excellent Mr. Barry Nutley.
Oh, thank you, Tony. Listen to this, folks. Blue sky, cloudless sky, unbelievable. So the conditions here at Snetterton have been fantastic. We've already had one of these Eastern Airways sidecar races, won by Sean Hegarty and Callum Lawson, just flashing through the picture there. But Tim Reeves and his brother Tristan James came from the back of the grid to get second, smashing the lap record all the way.
Yeah, that's right, and that means they still lead the championship. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing like when you get sort of put to the back of the grid, whatever reason you have a problem, coming through the full pack and getting some quick laps in. I really used to enjoy that when I was racing, and Reeves seemed to relish it yesterday.
Well, the lap record here is set by Ben and Tom Birchall, who are away at the Southern 100 next week, 156.1. He did a 155.837, and there you have it. That gap now down to 20 points. Hegarty trails Reeves by Andy Peach. Ben Holland did not score, so he is only 4 points ahead of the outfit in 5th place. Mark Edwards, Lee Barrett, Roger Lovelock and Aki Alto finished passenger in for the rest of the season. They're their reigning champions in 6th. Barry James, Mark Howard, Ian Drown, Ken Edwards, Craig Chaplow, Johnny Briggs alongside him. Steinhausen and Clues not here. The German doing something else this weekend, probably at the seaside, who knows. Horsepole Napton, Stevens Charwood have blown an engine, so they won't start. Roger Body is there on 36. Ian Guy had a cracking first race, but he too has had problems. It is absolutely fantastic here. Track temperature around 40 degrees. Pole you can see, but Reeves, that's your front row. Peach and Lovelock line up row 2 alongside them. Then it's Mark Edwards, Lee Barrett on the extremely rapid Kawasaki, Barry James, Mark Howard. Number 57, Tony Brown, a wild card from the BMCRC, the BEM seat. So his fifth ever ride on an F1 sidecar outfit, finished 7th in the first race. Phenomenal. It's a 10-lapper. It's going to be warm, as they say.
And it is. And do you know what? One of the things about these sidecars, the driver's tucked in completely the whole time. It's not like they sit up at the end of the straight and get the vented leathers, get some air through. These lads get really hot, and they're actually cuddling their arms round and their legs round a red-hot engine anyway. These things are like little cookers.
And about 300 degrees coming off the front brake.
Yep, that's it. Yeah, all underneath that fairing.
All underneath that. You're absolutely spot on, yeah. OK, the red flag moves away. Green flag at the back of the grid. We're going to get lights here. The first bend of Riches, of course, this is taken in about 5th gear. As they go off the line, the lights change, and Tim Reeves is riding like a man possessed this season, the reigning world champion. But where is Reeves? He's behind Hegarty. Hegarty's got the drop. Sean Hegarty leads Tim Reeves into Riches for the first time.
I'm not sure he's going to take him long to get past Hegarty. He's going to try around the outside into... And that's gone straight around the outside into Montreal Airpin. Good move by Reeves.
Reeves then taking the lead. Montreal was the downfall of Sean Hegarty, Callum Lawson, but they're going to stay close. The only way Sean Hegarty can hang on to Tim and Tristan Reeves is stay tucked in the slipstream. It's 3rd place for Roger Lovelock and Aki Alto. Then it's Andy Peach. Then it looks like it is Mark Edwards on the Kawasaki, the first of the Kawasaki's. So Suzuki leads, Suzuki 2nd, BMW 3rd, Suzuki 4th. Then it's the Kawasaki of Mark Edwards and Lee Barrett. Hegarty's hanging on to him though, James.
Yeah, he is. It's early doors yet, and with the speed we've seen the Reeves boys yesterday, it's going to be a big ask for that man there, Hegarty, to stay with him. I think, anyway.
And by the way, there's a big builder in ready-mix leathers looking for you after our last commentary.
Yeah, there's something on the grass there.
Here we go. Ben Holland and Lee Watson there.
So he's pulling out.
That's Simon Gilbert, number 11, Simon Gilbert. Oh, and Jed Pillmore Brady there. They are out of it. Simon Gilbert, if he got any luck at all, it would be bad luck. He's finished his first race this season yesterday, and now he's out of it again on Sunday. So the first 4 getting away. Mark Edwards there, and Barry James, number 112, on the John Cable racing outfit with Mark Howard, serving soldier alongside him. He's going well. So number 11, Simon Gilbert, Jed Pillmore Brady in the chair, and they are parked on the grass. They're out of it, using the curb.
Yeah. No.
Go on.
Yeah, Hegarty just lifting it over the curb there. And there's so much control with what happens with this sidecar wheel as these drivers. You can tighten the turn up a bit, lift the wheel up, almost at will over the curbs on the inside.
Well, let's take them then into Riches. They're 5th gear round here. Just short shifting to 6th along that little short straight to Montreal. They're at Montreal now. Back to 4th, possibly 3rd round here, depending on the gearing you've got. 3rd, round Montreal goes Roger Lovelock with Andy Peach looking on the inside and getting the hook into gear. He's got it going. Andy Peach almost alongside, but Lovelock, side by side. How close do you want it? Swapping paint?
Yeah, right across the front end. That was a good move, that.
Andy Peach then, Charlie Richardson in 4th place behind the reigning champions. Mark Edwards, we are on lap 2 of 10. So a long way to go here, boys. Calm down. Ben Holland, Lee Watson, well, they came from the back of the grid, so they've got an awful lot of work to do.
And Hegarty is hanging with the Reeves boys, you know, here.
He certainly is. The Suzuki of Sean Hegarty is quick. But that bike of Tim and Tristan Reeves, and they're packing up to go to the Southern 100 as well, but they decided they wanted to do this British Championship round. They've committed to doing every one of the rounds they can hang into, but you're quite right. Hegarty is staying with Tim Reeves. He's close enough. He's in the slipstream.
He is.
He's
right,
getting sucked along.
Absolutely. There's nothing in that.
This could also be a test of tyres. Everyone on Avon tyres, of course. That's the control tyre for this series. These big, fat slicks. Car racing tyres in actual fact, cross-ply as well, which is unlike the modern solo racing. And Hegarty showed his nose to Tim Reeves at that moment.
Yeah, around some of these corners, particularly the right-handers, which this Snetterton circuit is predominantly a right-handed circuit. These Sidecar outfits, with having more grip, 3 wheels, and really big wide wheels and all flat rubber on the circuit, actually go quicker around some of the right-handers than the solos do.
Now look at this, Peach alongside the BMW. This is an outright sprint up the hill, 150 miles an hour as they flash past the end of the pit wall over the start-finish line, throwing it into Riches, back to 5th here. The back end just moving about. Charlie Richardson on the back of Andy Peach's bike, an accomplished Isle of Man DT passenger.
He's trying, that's not going to work.
Showing the nose, there was no room there. He had a look up the inside. But I think Roger Lovelock will be able to hear that screaming Suzuki behind him.
Yep, I think he will. I think he'd have seen him there as well. Just poked his nose up the inside in Peach. But there just wasn't going to be room. Lovelock just closed the door at Montreal Airpin. Fair enough.
Andy Peach, number 4, having a good season as well. He's having something of a renaissance in the 2013 Eastern Airways British F1 Sidecar Championship. He's going well. There, Ben Holland and Lee Watson having displaced Barry. Are they? No, they're right there. They're in 7th. Edwards leading James. Then it's Holland still in 7th. Then a great ride by Tony Brown and Ryan Anderson in 8th place at the moment. But this battle now for 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, you can see it, is closing up. You're looking at the 7th place crew, but not now. You're with the race leaders.
Your leaders, yep. That's Reeves and Haggerty. This is the battle between... And has Andy Peach got through? He has. Andy Peach is through.
Andy Peach sweeps through into 3rd place. Did it on the brakes. At the end, into the bomb hole he goes.
Yep, and he's been looking at trying that for a couple of laps now.
Exiting the bomb hole, onto the Corum, with the corner which goes on and on and on. This is so hard for a sidecar passenger because he's been threatened to spit off the left-hand side of the outfit at every opportunity. And then, of course, he's got to get his weight transferred as they come down to the chicane.
Yeah, and do you know what? Around Corums on these things, there's so much centrifugal force pushing, well, both the rider's fairly fixed in the thing, but particularly the passenger. And like you say, if you just lose grip, you'd be thrown straight out of the thing at about 130 miles an hour.
Out of the left-hander at Murray's, Barry James has gone past Mark Edwards. So Barry James and Mark Howard, number 112 on the John Cable Racing Suzuki, have gone past the Kawasaki of Mark Edwards. And right behind Mark Edwards, the green bike, you can see the Finning Cat Suzuki of Ben Holland and Lee Watson. 4th place in the championship, these guys, just 4 points adrift, so they need to get the pressure on. Look at this battle at the front, James. Yep. Hegarty has not given up at all.
Definitely not given up. I didn't think he had this in him, to be honest.
Well, first race winner, Sean Hegarty and Callum Lawson, but in fairness, Tim Reeves coming from the back of the grid. Look at those, both in the 55s. Look at those lap times.
Yeah, 1 minute 55s. You're looking at about 5 to 6 seconds slower than a decent superbike time when you consider these things are pulling probably 400 kilos with the bike and the rider and the fuel on an engine that's probably producing about 200 brake horsepower, just a tad less.
155.845 Tim and Tristan Reeves have done. That is just 2 100ths off the lap record which they set yesterday. So the conditions very much suiting them, suiting their SMT Racing Suzuki, and of course it's suiting Sean Hegarty. Now does Hegarty, and more to the point, do the passengers have the stamina to keep going at this pace? Because it must be grueling.
Yeah, but you know what? At least the passenger has got a little bit of airflow going through the vents in the leathers, and the driver hasn't got. It's basically just the driver's helmet that's sticking up. Not got a lot of airflow at all over his body.
Mark Edwards there, Lee Barrett on the Kawasaki. They have been relegated slightly. They were in 5th place in the championship. And, of course, their big rivals, Ben Holland and Lee Watson, just 4 points ahead of them, have gone past them. They're race leaders, though. Tim and Tristan Reeves go through the picture, number 77, operating out of a superbike pit lane garage here at Snetterton. And that's a long time since we saw an F1 sidecar outfit based in the garages in pit lane, James.
Yeah, garages are in a bit short supply at most British circuits, but here at Snetterton, they're in really short supply. So to get one, yeah, you've done well, actually. Most teams... the vast majority of teams here in every class work from awnings and from tents.
And what I thought was very encouraging was during the pit lane walk this morning, Tim Reeves was signing autographs like you wouldn't believe. He ran out of postcards and posters, so that says it all, doesn't it? Hugh.
Do you know what? I was chatting with somebody just out in the bleachers there on a banking when I was James Hayden had his races to commentate on. And I was chatting with an old boy who's been coming up here for the last 40 years, did a bit of racing on a gold stand. He says he particularly comes for the sidecars. He loves the sidecars. And a lot of the older end actually do. It's a particular favourite is a sidecar race for them.
Well, very colourful, very spectacular. They can see the passenger working, the antics of the passenger, and it is a science. People call them lunatics. I can tell you, it's a real science. It's a skill that not too many people have, and to carry it through to race distance, these are 1 and 2 in the race at half distance. Tim and Tristan Reeves, number 77, reigning world champions, second in race 1, unbeaten this year in the races they've contested until yesterday, and they fried a clutch, as indeed did Ben Holland, as indeed did 1 or 2 others. So I think that a combination of the conditions, the grip on the circuit and the temperature is not kind on clutches.
No, it's not. These engines were meant to, they're 1 litre engines, mostly Suzuki, I've got to say, but they're allowed any manufacturer. There's Kawasaki's out there, BMWs. And
Hegarty! Sorry, James.
Yep.
Hegarty.
He's in.
Yep. And Callum Lawson, a shake of the head, a retirement for Sean Hegarty. That is a mechanical problem, and that is a huge, huge shame. Sorry.
Yeah, and typically these engines work a lot harder in the sidecar outfits than they ever would in the 1 litre solo sports bikes that they came out of. There's other things. It's not just a case of bolting a big 1 litre sports bike engine into a sidecar outfit chassis. There's stuff like on a solo, you don't need to worry about where the oil's going really, because the bike is always in balance. It's like a 1G move the whole time. Whereas on a sidecar, the thing goes sideways and the oil can slosh to one side and not get picked up by the oil pickup and not get spread around the engine. So there's lots of baffles have to go in there. There's lots and lots of work to do to how would you say it, sidecarize these 1 litre sports bike engines.
And to get them not just to go fast, but to go the...
Exactly, well, they're working a lot harder, they're towing a lot of weight, the clutches have more strain on them, you know.
Ben Holland and Lee Watson up another place, relegating Barry James and Mark Howard, number 112, there they are. So Ben Holland now up to 4th. In fact, yes, he's up to 4th. The retirement of Sean Hegarty and Callum Lawson, unfortunate as it is for them, of course, has done everyone a favour. They all jump up 1 place, and it will also close up the championship behind Tim Reeves. Tim Reeves is away with it. He's going to march on to something like a 45-point lead. I can see a big puff of dust.
I just saw dust, and normally if there's dust, there's somebody on that dust.
That could be a sidecar wheel. Everybody seems to be on track. We'll soon know. We'll have a look as they come down out of the sunlight. The sun now very low here at Snetterton, of course, but the temperature still very, very high. Ben Holland and Lee Watson, there they go, Finning Cat Suzuki.
The track temperature has been up as far as about 48 degrees today, Barry. That's hot.
Well, I tell you what, Ben Holland's had a problem, because ahead of him is Mark Edwards. So the dust we saw, in my opinion, and it's pure a guess at the moment, is that Ben Holland has been off the circuit. There is our second place man, Andy Peach and Charlie Richardson. Second, of course, with the relegation, 156.3 done by Reeves, 156.7, so 0.4 of a second slower, Andy Peach. In second place, though, looking good. Second step of the podium beckons for him. We're on lap 7.
And when you can hear these engines coming out of the corners, these bikes coming out of the corners, and it sounds like the clutch is slipping, but it's actually the rear wheel spinning. And you can see the passenger getting right over the back of that driving wheel, right behind his driver, to try and get as much weight on that wheel as possible, try and get the thing driving.
Well, I could hear in my headphones an awful lot of revving, which sounded like a slipping clutch, but I'm sure you're right. I'm sure our on-circuit microphone out there is picking up wheel spin from these great fat slicks. 0.77 of a second now. Peach trails Richardson in 3rd place. It's Lovelock and Alto. So Tim Reeves out there, 7 seconds. Then it's Barry James, Mark Evans. Holland now down in 6th. So Ben Holland and Lee Watson have had an excursion. That's all I can say.
That might have been the dust we saw.
Could well be. We should be seeing the Finning Cat Suzuki come into shot. Yes, we are. Here they come. So they have had an incident, that's for sure, but they're hanging on to 6th place. If Barry James and Mark Howard, the number 112 outfit, in your shot now, hang on to the 4th place, this is a season best for them, just getting better and better all the time. It is warm. It is very warm out there, and it's warm in the commentary box. You think, as you said, you made the point so rightly, that driver's on his knees in there with a 4-into-1 exhaust system going down, pardon my expression, but between his legs, and of course his hand is right down there with 300 degrees coming off the front disc.
Yeah, that's it, yeah, and there's not really a lot of place for that heat to get out. You know, he's almost closing the top of the fairing. There's no airflow whatsoever. Get really hot, these boys.
Will be a warm job, but it's a good job almost done for Tim and Tristan Reeves. The brothers reunited, former world champions together in 2004, 2005, if my memory serves me correctly. And retiring
coming in.
Rupert Archer, Jason Grimes, number 70. Oh, that's a shame for them.
Yeah, that's at the end of the straight there, actually going into the back entrance of the paddock there.
And they had been running in 10th place, so they were on a mission for 6 points, but it's all to no avail. So the Hannafin Suzuki of Rupert Archer out of the running. Not so the SMT Racing Suzuki of Tim Reeves. That's a real study in concentration and passenger agility. Wonderful, wonderful pictures here on F1 Sidecar Racing from Snetterton. And I hope you enjoyed your afternoon of motorcycle racing, in particular the stunning British Superbike races here on Eurosport.
A lot of people have enjoyed it from the circuit, but the place is packed. I've had a quick walk around.
It is, and I had the advantage of going up one of these cherry pickers to have a look, and you can't see a bit of grass where the bicycle park is. The motorcycles packed,
yeah,
absolutely packed. Wonderful. Tim and Tristan Reeves then.
Around Corrams.
Way in the lead now.
Oh, somebody else is retiring.
Oh, that's Rod Robinson and your Ready Mix colleague, Nick Webb. He's coming to find you, James.
No, he won't find me. He'll be fixing his bike.
We've had a bit of a chuckle over that in the paddock, I can tell you. Wonderful. Nick Webb, Rod Robinson, retiring their Kawasaki. So, Suzuki, I beg your pardon. So, big shame for them. There, Gary Horspoll, number 32. And another of our wild cards there, mixed up with Horspoll. That's good. That's young James Cyril, number 195, with Gary Horspoll, riding an RSR, which is the Rudy Schmidt Racing. So we've got two manufacturers for Sidecar chassis in there as well. There it is. That's the Rudy Schmidt Racing RSR. James Cyril, another of those lads up from Bempsey. He's going to be doing a full season next year, sponsored by Rudy Schmidt, a new chassis maker, so that's a refreshing change.
Where's that from? Which country?
Germany.
Okay.
So Rudy Schmidt, it's very like an LCR. It'd have to be, wouldn't it? That's the winning formula.
Yep, it is, yep.
But the RSR, the Rudy Schmidt Racing, there are two of them in this. He's going to run a two-bike team next season in the Eastern Airways Championship. So that's
brilliant. Yep.
On the penultimate lap then, 8 laps completed, 2.5 to go of the Snetterton 300 circuit. Andy Peach and Charlie Richardson in second place. Holding that interval as well, 7 seconds. Tim Reeves, though, will have been getting the pit board. You know what it's like, James, when you're 7 seconds in front on a day like this, you've just got to bring it home.
Yeah, you knock it off a little bit, you try and save the bike, you don't want to give it any extra stick, you're not thinking about lap records, you're just thinking about bringing it home, like you say.
Charlie Richardson looking good. And looking even better, Tim Reeves coming round. Next time he will collect the last lap flag as he comes down towards Murray's, and now accelerating up the centre straight.
Yeah, takes a long look behind him, does Tim Reeves. There's nobody there. He's got about 8 seconds lead now.
There he goes, waiting for Andy Peach and Charlie Richardson to hove into view out of Murray's. 5.6, so he's pulled back a little bit.
Yeah. You get the impression it's this guy, Tim Reeves, just controlling it from the front. Final lap, he ain't going to drop 5 seconds without a major mistake, which he's not used to making mistakes, isn't Tim?
Well, James, I said at the outset that Tim Reeves is probably having the best season ever. He's won World Championships before, but he's flawless.
Won his first TT in the Isle of Man, you know, he is having a good season.
And he deserves it. He's certainly put a lot of effort in. He's the height of professionalism, you can see by the appearance. Robin Croft, of course, of SMT, will be thrilled to bits.
Yep, Standish Metal Treatment. That's what SMT stands for. Robin Croft, what a good bloke. Sponsors 1 or 2 classes, loves his racing.
And doing well in solo class Superstocks.
Yep, that's right, yeah.
Excellent. Well done.
Behind Adam Jenkinson, who leads the British Superstock 1000 Championship.
Fantastic. On the final lap then, Tim and Tristan Reeves. Let's do them a bit of credit here because they've had a wonderful performance. Sean Hegarty and Callum Lawson put up a spirited battle for the majority of the race, but some mechanical problem overcame them. I'd be partially surprised if it were not clutch, because one or two of these big Suzukis have been in trouble with the clutches this weekend, due in the main, I think, to the heat, the track being so grippy, and I think a lot of the riders try to feather the clutch a little bit to get
out the front
drive.
corner, yeah, like out the end of the straight there, out of well, there's a couple of corners actually, the hairpin as well, Montreal, where you would use the clutch, and out of Murray's, the corner they're coming up to now, they grab a load of clutch just to get the thing driving, and that obviously, every time you do that, that wears the clutch and heats it up as well.
Look over the shoulder then, Tim and Tristan Reeves, here they come. Absolutely fantastic, 10 laps completed, they'll be thrilled with that. They take the win. There it is, a little wave, the hand comes out of the cockpit. Andy Peach and Charlie Richardson, second place on the podium. And third place for reigning champion Lovelock with Aki Aalto from Finland in the Sidecar. They've done a good job. And look at this, Barry James and Mark Howard, best result of the year in fourth. And they were not that far adrift, I can tell you. Just 17 seconds off the winning time. Mark Edwards and Lee Barrett collect fifth place over the line. And it's a battling six. They obviously had some problems, Ben Holland and Lee Watson, but they do preserve their championship standing only just because Mark Edwards, who beat them in this race, just about closes in the championship. But there it is confirmed, Tim and Tristan Reeves. It's another win for these boys. They just march on and on and on. A big thank you to my expert co-commentator, not usually accustomed to sidecars, but I think he loves it, James.
Yeah, I like the sidecars. Cheers, buddy.
Brilliant. Look at the crowd. That's another thing, of course, James, that the crowd have stayed here, haven't they? It's such a lovely day. Who wants to go home?
Yeah, I've got to be fair, you know, sitting on a grass banking, watching a bit of bikes, whether it be sidecar or solos, there's worse places to be at this point.
Certainly, especially if you've got a can of something open.
Yeah, and a tube of Factor 50 in most cases. There's some pink torsos going home today, I'll tell you.
Wonderful, 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 wonderful. That's it then, the crowd liked that, they enjoyed that. So, round of applause from appreciative supporters here in the sun at Snetterton. And I'm sure that gave our track circuit commentator Fred Clark something to eulogise about. Barry James, Mark Howard, number 112, shaking hands with Mark Edwards and Lee Barrett because they had a battle throughout the race. And those two are separated by just about 2 points in the championship now, so it had a lot of meaning, that battle. Well, just closing stages then here, all wrapped up. It's the end of the day. Craig Chaplow and John Briggs, and Chaplow's regular passenger Kees Endeveld, the Dutchman, has gone away for some of this modern technology forearm surgery to relieve trapped tendons. What's that all about?
Yeah, you get arm pump and you can have an operation. It's quite a complex operation, actually.
Well, that's where Kees Endeveld is, but John Briggs did an admirable job jumping in, and big congratulations to our wildcard riders. Tony Brown 7th with Ryan Anderson, but victory Tim Reeves by 4 seconds from Andy Peach. Roger Lovelock completes the podium. Then Barry James, he'll be absolutely delighted. Mark Edwards, the Holland Watson pairing. Tony Brown and Ryan Anderson, fantastic. They're actually on a Yamaha, an 04 R1, would you believe? Chaplow and Briggs, Drown and Ken Edwards, and Horsepole and Napton brought it home in 10th after a troubled day yesterday. 11th for James Cyril and Steve Wareham. Wonderful. Dan Knight. Oh, Sam Fishwick there. Wonderful. 12. These are wildcards. They ride, if you like, in Division 1 and not the Premier League. So I guess Tim Reeves is going to be up there something like 45 points clear. And what a guess that was. He is indeed 45 points clear of Sean Hegarty, Callum Lawson, Peach and Richardson right there in third. Holland, 3 points clear of Edwards. Oh, dear me. Barry James has done well, 94, so terrific stuff. Holland then under some threat now for his 4th place. He needs to do well at the next round, of course, which is Brands Hatch. Lower down the order, Ricky Stevens, well, his mechanical woes go on and on and on. Roger Body's circuit and promoter of this series, 36 points. Ian Guy, 34. John Clark wasn't here today. This 10-lapper promised to be a fierce one as well, and from the start, from pole position, Sean Hegarty and Callum Lawson, number 33, made their intentions clear, getting the drop on Tim and Tristan Reeves from the word go at Richards. It was not long, though, before Tim and Tristan Reeves got their act together. There was dust flying all around as everybody fought for the spare tarmac. An early retirement meant that Simon Gilbert, number 11, was out of it. A battle raged for third place between Andy Peach and Roger Lovelock because the pair at the front were charging away. But never for a moment did Sean Hegarty and Callum Lawson let Tim get out of sight. Peach and Lovelock scrapped and scrapped, but finally, almost at half race distance, Andy Peach and Charlie Richardson squeezed past the BMW to get their Suzuki up into third place. Then there was a certain amount of a hand went in the air from Sean Hegarty, the driver of the number 33 outfit, and he and Callum Lawson were forced to retire with a mechanical problem into pit lane, gifting Andy Peach and Charlie Richardson second place. That left race leaders Tim and Tristan Reeves 7 seconds clear, and they were able to enjoy the luxury of cruising home, backing off in the closing stages to take the checkered flag, with Andy Peach there in second and a brilliant third place for reigning champion Roger Lovelock.